This is another slab in the collection. With this one, the color palette, I was working more on volcanic stone. Um, you'll see when we come in a bit closer, there's the kind of brownish grey base, but there's more of a red tone than an amber tone. There's more of a bluey grey that's a bit warmer as opposed to the cold greys on some other slabs. Again, it's just bringing a variation and variety to the collection. I really love the shape on this one. We are going to put a tree in it a little bit later, but just working off the shape, this would also work very well with multiple tree plantings, purely because of all these little corners and edges. So what I tend to do in my forests is I love to work right up to the corners, so you could have all your big trees centered, and then as your shape works down, you put some smaller trees out here. And again, you're replicating what happens in nature. When you see a forest, there's always smaller growth towards the outside. There's always little gaps. You can have your main planting in the center, a small space, and then you have a multiple planting, and maybe just 2 or 3, 4 or 5 just small trees on the corners, and it just adds that more real look to the planting. And not only that, even working with a single tree, the shape of this is fantastic because you do have your rises. With this slab in particular, personally, I would leave a gap on the corners. So get your tree mounded, and then if you like moss layers or even just raw akadama, leave a differential on the corners, because when you come in closer, you'll see there is a lot of detail on the edges, and it's nice to replicate that kind of mounted stone effect. A lot of craters, dips and divots, which just add a lot of tone differential to your planting. Again, you would have the option to invert the pot with this planting as well, if you did want to get a little bit of lift. So there we go, have that kind of effect. And again, you've got nice little dips, divots, a very solid structural base to work with. But I love the way that this one would sit. Imagine if it was on a completely flat surface, it would be coming out of whatever you're growing, going into your tree. It just flows so well. Just to give you a quick idea of measurement and scale, so you can apply that to your trees and plantings. We are working with a very unnatural shape here, but from longest point to longest point at the front here, we're at around 87 centimeters. Measure corner to corner, you're looking at around 80. Width-wise at the longest points, you've got about 45 centimeters to work with. So this one is, again, quite a thin planting, but with a lot of texture to it. So on the scale, it is coming in at 8 kilos. So again, you've got that strength and that durability. You've got your soft edges and your harder, thicker corners. But again, for 8 kilos, if you think of how much a rock this size would weigh, you're saving so much. And it just makes all your plantings a lot easier, more maneuverable. Obviously, sometimes you want to move them around the garden, you want to put them where the light is. So working with a slab of this size, they are considerably lighter than you think they would be. We've got a lovely elm here. As you see, the shape works well with the corners of the pot. Obviously, it would look considerably better if we was to repot it, but just to give you an idea of mounding styles, if you was to plant it on a mound basis, this is around the height you'd be at, but then you could then work into the corners and have your micro plants, your moss, whatever you want, spilling over the edges, or as we said, just working up to the edge. Again, as you can see, as you water in the plant, it really brings out those volcanic colors in the stone, really exaggerates all the little dips and divots, brings out the reddy tones. And again, it drains incredibly well.